We want to be connected. Strong leadership, and the cure to everything that we've been talking about today, is connection. It's about the leader being connected and understanding what's going on with his people. Now, we've all been getting to know each other the last day or so, all throughout today, and a few of us at the networking event last night. So at this point, is it safe to say that we're friends? Close? Close? That's good enough for me. So friends can be honest with each other, right? So if we're friends, we can be honest here today, right? Uh-oh, what's he setting us up for? Right? All right, well, when we talk about connection, it's about interaction with people, right? So we've been networking, getting to know each other. By show of hands, how many people have started off a conversation and just meeting somebody by talking about the weather? Nobody. One person. 2 people. 3 people. All right. So 3 people have ever started a conversation with somebody new by talking about the weather. Okay, so 3 people are honest, and everybody else is lying through their teeth. We all do it. It's easy. It's safe. But did you also know that we form a first impression about somebody within the first 7 seconds of meeting? 7 seconds. So when we have a conversation and we're meeting somebody for the first time, it sounds a little something like this. Excuse me, sir. Sir, what is your name?
Dean.
Dean? Dean, I'm Rich. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
What do you think? We've been spending some time outside. I love the fact that the humidity's gone now, don't you?
Absolutely.
Man, this is why I live in Florida, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Ding, first impression. What on earth did I just tell him about myself? Nothing. Yeah, I talk a lot, yes. Well, you see, that's why I'm here, and you're... Yeah, you learn nothing about somebody in those first 7 seconds. So he now has a first impression that does absolutely nothing for me, right? Connections have to go much deeper than talking about the weather, right? Connections need to go to a personal level. Now, I won't ask for a show of hands on this, but I'm sure that we've all known somebody else that tries to cram their entire life into the first 5 minutes of meeting them. And right now, there's somebody popping in your mind. And if there's not, you're that person. See, connections are about getting to know somebody at a deeper level, right? And we kind of skipped over the topic. I'm going to jump back to this real quick. Connections and strong leadership are not about pulling somebody ahead. It's about standing beside them and holding their hand. So last night at the networking event, I was giving a little bit of a preview of what I was going to be talking about today and just in speaking about leadership in general. And I was asked a very good question, I think, to this point. And the question was, well, what level of leader are you talking to? See, when you look at this, there are no leadership levels. You can be a leader on the ground floor of a company. You can be a leader as an ordinary citizen in a country. Leadership isn't about position. It has nothing to do with position, right? Position, oftentimes, is what we use for power, right? We talked about that misconception of leadership. And sometimes we get into the trap of positional leadership. And really, when we get there, we've lost the sight of what true leadership is about. I'll just throw out a name, Mother Teresa. She was a leader. But what position did she hold? She wasn't the president of a country, right? See, she made connections. And she used those connections for the better of society. And that's what we have the power to do here today. That's why we're here today. Connections are about helping others and standing beside them. So, we've talked a little bit about theory with all of this. I'm the type of person that likes to roll up my sleeves and get dirty a little bit. Right? I don't like to stay on the higher level in talking theory. Can we talk about how to do this? Let's talk about what this means to us in our careers, with our chapters. Let's talk about some application. And for me, that application is the most important point that hopefully you get out of this conversation today. That's why you have these sheets. To be able to apply this to your own situations. Okay? Now, there are three main keys to connection that we're going to talk about today. And they're all vitally important to the success of our chapters and to what we do. Connection requires energy. It's the difference between just mere communication and truly making an impact on somebody. It's about you going to them with humility, learning what you can about them so that you can stand beside them. And only then will they learn about you. I'll say it again. Strong connections are about you going to them, learning what you can about them, and only then will they learn about you in your message. So when we talk about our chapters, and we talk about the great things that our chapters are doing, we want to talk about how to get our message out there. This is it. There are three strong keys to connection that help us do just that. And the first one is about finding common ground. Connections go much deeper than just the surface conversation. In order to connect with somebody and to stand beside them, you need to know where they're standing. You need to find out what motivates them, what drives them, what their goals and dreams are. And then you can stand beside them with some of those things that you have in common with them. Your organization can provide a lot of those things to a lot of different people. The UNA has a great message to be able to give out there to people. But your message, it's not a field of dreams kind of thing. You know what I mean? For those of you that have seen it, James Earl Jones, if you build it, they will come, right? So the guy builds this baseball field out in cornfields, and drones of people come to see these old-time ball players. It's not that, right? The field has already been built. You've taken on the challenge of showing people where the field is. And in order to help them see where that field is, we've got to find common ground with them. It's about learning about them. Let me give you an example, right? We have a number of students, current students in here today. Now, our chapters outside of Tampa, I've got to imagine you may also work with students. And if you don't, you should. Students are a great resource for these chapters. But if you want to get students involved and to find common ground with them, what is the one thing that a student is looking for? What was that? Internships, okay. Connections, networking, which all leads to helping them find a job, right? Do you think that the UNA could help students potentially find a job with some of these things? Okay. So there's one way to find common ground with a student. Let me take it a step further. There are business people that are involved with your chapters as well, right? I mean, there are a few of us in here in the room today that come from business or nonprofits. The business people that are involved in your UNA chapters generally are here because we want to help people, right? So do you think it would be beneficial to a business person who is in your chapter to be connected with one of the students and maybe be a mentor to them? Yeah? See, you now have taken a student, found common ground with them, and made a connection. You've taken a business person, found common ground with them. You've facilitated a connection with the two of them, and your chapter is right in the middle. Right in the middle of the whole thing. So now, you not only have one involved member, you have two. See how powerful that can be? See, connections multiply people. They multiply us. Common ground boils down to providing value to the people where they are. It's about leading from their side and not out in front of them. You know, the philosophy, I think, in general is that if I'm far enough out ahead, that people will be following me and I'm blazing a new path. Well, if you're blazing a new path and nobody's following you, you're just taking a hike. In fact, you should take a hike, because you shouldn't be there to begin with. Okay? So of the three keys to connection, we've gone through number one, which is common ground. Number two is about creating an experience. Experiences go much further and much deeper than just an event. We have many events throughout our lives, but there are some which stick out in our minds, right? Ones that really make us feel connected to a cause or to someone. Kennedy's assassination in the US. The 9/11 terrorist attacks. If you were around for those, there are images and feelings in your mind that you can still feel as if it was yesterday. Now, I'm an optimist, if you couldn't tell, so I like to look on the brighter side of things. So we also have some good experiences that we tend to remember as well, right? I'm sure that there was a birthday party that we had growing up, or even recently, that really stands out to us. Or our wedding day, or the day that we met our spouse, or fill in the blank. A prestigious award that we won. We can remember certain days and certain events like they were yesterday. It's because it was an experience for us. Experiences involve emotions. They involve all of your senses. And it's important for our chapters, if we want to really connect with people and really get our message out there, to create an experience for people, because that's what we hold on to. You know, a volunteer organization like the UNA is working with people on a regular basis. You're trying to pull from the same pool of people that churches and food banks and other organizations with a similar or related cause are looking for. But there's only so much time that you can give. There's only so much time that people can give. Now, just to give an example of the experience question, I know that this is kind of an extreme example, but it's one that I've lived and one that sticks with me. There's a company in the area who's known or has been known for their entertainment. Okay, they were known for throwing parties, and their holiday party every year was the party of parties. They spared no expense in trying to entertain their employees, their vendors, their clients, you name it. Everybody came along, and this was the big event. Well, about 10, 15 years ago, I was lucky enough to be invited to the event. And we pull into the venue, and there's valet there valet attendants there waiting to take our cars and go park them for us. So I get out, hand over my keys, and I hadn't noticed it when we were pulling in, but there were circus performers mingling with the people coming out of the cars. There were guys juggling, there were people jumping on pogo sticks. I mean, instantly, interaction as soon as you got there. They led us and walked us into the door when the colors hit me. It was this whole wintry Cirque du Soleil kind of theme that they had going on, this whole whimsical thing, where the background was all dark, but up front in the foreground, the entertainers, the tablecloths, they were all bright, vibrant whites and blues and you name it, right? They really grabbed your attention as soon as you walked in. And as you go in, they have ceilings like this, 30, 40-foot ceilings, and there are people swinging from swings that are attached to the ceiling. These wooden rope swings. It was so cool. And the smell of the place when you walked in with the food cooking, they had the carving stations and the soup. It was like as soon as you walked in, it was just, you were ready to eat. They had dancers and entertainers up on stage pulling people up from the crowd onto the stage to interact and be a part of it. And here's the best part. You walk in and we're inside, and in Tampa in December, and it's snowing. It was snowing. The room was snowing. It's amazing. Now, that was 10 to 15 years ago, but that still sticks with me. That really involved all of my, that got me. And I am not affiliated with that company anymore. But I'll tell you what, I'm still pretty darn loyal to them. And not because of that, but that's certainly a strong piece of it. Experiences are very important. Now, again, that is an extreme example, and they had a tremendous amount of resources to be able to do that. And many of us can't do that. But it only takes a little impact, a little effort up front to make a big impact on the back end. Any one of those components that I pointed out would have been enough. Now, there are different ways to create experiences for your people in the different events that you're hosting. And everybody's solution is going to be different. Everybody's solution to this is going to be different. What may work for the chapter in the Miami area is going to be very different for what works in Tallahassee, which is going to be very different than what works here in Tampa. So I encourage you, as you go back and talk to your boards about this and about how this applies to your chapter, I encourage you to discuss how this experience piece comes into the equation. Now, the third key to making strong connections is getting people involved. This is the million-dollar question when it comes to a volunteer organization, right? How do we get them involved? Well, we've all heard the phrase, you get out what you put in, right? Right? It's what every organization falls back to when you're trying to get people involved. Well, if you give me more, you're going to get more out of it. Just give me more first, and then you'll get more out of it. That's kind of backwards from the way it should be, isn't it? I mean, I'm just meeting you. I want you to be involved in my chapter, so come on, give me all that you can, and then you'll get a reward later. There are other organizations who are saying the exact same thing. And they're going after the same people. As much as you don't want it to be a competition, there's a part of it that is, because there's only so much time that can go around. So in order to really make an impact and start getting people involved, you need to flip that statement around. It's not you get out what you put in. As an organization, what you give out is what you get in. You will get into your organization what you give out. In order to have involved members, you've got to be involved with them first. give you an example. I was a member of a fraternity when I was in college. And before I got into school, I had seen that documentary on A&E. What's it called? Oh, Animal House. Right? You've seen Animal House? It's a movie about the most dysfunctional fraternity that could have ever existed. But to me, going back to that ignorance thing, that's what I thought it was about. When I got on campus, I've had this passion for leadership development and helping others grow for a long time. And that was something that I wanted to do when I was a student. And this fraternity, this chapter, had leaders throughout the campus. They had the student government president. They had leaders across the board. So for all intents and purposes, I should have been beating down their door to get in. But because of my ignorance, I wanted nothing to do with them because I was afraid of the stigma. So what did they do? They got involved with me first. They found out my passions. They were able to find that common ground, and they helped me get involved. They plugged me in to the other organizations on campus and some of the things that I really wanted to do. And sure enough, I joined, and I got involved. You see how this can be powerful for our chapters here with the UNA? I mean, every example is going to be a little bit different. Every circumstance is going to be a little bit different, but the principle is the same. It's about getting involved in the community and with the members that you currently have to helping them become more involved members. Because experience is what moves people. Experiences move potential members to become members. They move lackadaisical members to become involved members. Okay? So do we have it? The 3 keys.